Certain materials may seem to possess godlike properties, but that doesn't mean they can be used anywhere. Just like carbon wheels are more prone to fatigue, in the 1960s, Honda learned the hard way that the weight of magnesium is not the only exceptional feature of this material. The RA302 was the pinnacle of Japanese Formula 1 in the 1960s, but this magnesium air-cooled powered prototype never got the chance to prove itself. To put the whole story into perspective, the Japanese applied their experience from MotoGP racing to Formula 1. Since the displacement limit was set at 1500cc, it was a reasonable tiny engine volume to source motorcycle technology here. The engine was transversely mounted, with the valve train and engine output located in the middle, and both the crankshaft and camshafts were placed on the roller bearings. The only difference was the water cooling, which, besides the cylinder count, increased the weight, and the Honda struggled against its rivals. The V12-powered RA271 wasn't outright a champion, but the succeeding RA272 won the last round of the 1965 season. The later 3-liter F1 proved challenging for Honda, and notable achievements were scarce. The team had to buy a proven chassis, particularly from Della, to bring the weight down and competitiveness up. After several seasons of minor trophies, Soichiro Honda was fed up with such results and ordered the creation of a clean sheet chassis with a much lighter engine. The preceding monoposts were built on aluminum chassis designs with water-cooled V12 engines. However, during the development of the RA302, engineers discarded everything from the past years and introduced a custom in-house developed magnesium skinned frame with double wishbones both at the front and rear. Magnesium, having about 40% lower density than aluminum, allowed for a significant reduction in the weight of the chassis shell. The drive was also repositioned further to the front to achieve better weight distribution, with his feet placed in front of the front axle. The RA302 received an engine built entirely from scratch, maintaining a longitudinal position. After enjoying success in the various classes of MotoGP racing for many seasons, Honda reverted to the air-cooled concept, prioritizing weight as the sole parameter. The decision was made to employ air cooling in a 3-liter V8 configuration. This engine featured a 120-degree bang angle for a low weight distribution, along with 4 gear-driven overhead camshafts and 32 valves. 2 oil coolers were integrated, one at the furthest front and the other on the top of the engine. Engineers implemented a funnel draft system based on the Venturi effect to accelerate air through the engine fins, and along additional cooling fins on the underside, it eliminated the need for power-draining cooling fans. Naturally, cylinders were not cooled in the same manner, posing a challenge in engineering different internal tolerances for the engine. Despite the time constraints during development, the engine output evened out with the water-cooled unit, boasting 430 horsepower at 9,500 RPM, making it a formidable contender poised to prove itself. Unfortunately, the narrow time window meant that the chassis could not be tweaked to the absolute perfection. The RA302 development consumed all the resources needed to keep fine-tuning the existing RA301, but anyhow, Soichiro's goal was to introduce the air-cooled car in the middle of the season for the French GP. Prior testing with John Surtees, the car showcased twitchy and sharp handling, and the British driver called it a death trap. Team's chief engineer Yoshio Nakamura advised not to race it yet. You would drive out of the pits and it would feel quite sharp, but it was impossible to drive any distance with it, performing as it should. Mr. Nakamura told Japan, "We couldn't take this to a race." Ultimately, it was solely Soichiro's decision to take part in this event and run the car despite the warnings. He was convinced of the RA302's potential, but Surtees refused to drive it anyway. Honda had to place their F2 pilot into the car, Schlesser, for which it was his first and sadly the last time in Formula 1. While Surtees qualified 7th in the V12-powered RA301, Schlesser achieved 16th place out of 18. During the race event, the sketchy handling of the V8 monopost caused Schlesser to lose control of the car during his second lap in corner number 3 and crash into a bank. The vehicle, with 58 laps worth of fuel, ignited into the flames along with the highly flammable magnesium skin of the Honda. The circuit staff attempted to put out the fire by water fire extinguishers, but magnesium extinguished by water burns even more fiercely as it binds with the oxygen molecules, increasing the flames while releasing hydrogen. The aluminum-bodied RA301 finished second during the French race and continued racing during the season. It achieved several points and placed 6th overall in the 1968 F1 Championship. Honda created a second air-cooled RA302 for Surtees for a later Italian round, but the British refused to drive it one more time. The car officially attended a single race and drove about 12 kilometers. The other specimen lies in the Honda Hall collection. The air-cooled V8 was the last Formula 1 engine by Honda until 1983, and the RA301 the last Honda car to race until the 2006 RA106.